What's happening, everyone? Welcome to episode 2 of The Golden Shovel. This week's podcast will look back at the last week of Raw, SmackDown and NXT action and all the fallout from the week after WrestleMania. I am once again joined by Daz and Ross.
How we doing, folks?
And this week, I will be relying on the other two guys to deliver the NXT and SmackDown reviews, mostly. Unfortunately, and then I have got myself back up for Monday Night's Raw. So I think the best place for us to start is NXT. Daz, you want to kick us off?
Yes, Ross has an agenda with all things Scotland on NXT, so I will leave that to Ross to talk about. So I'm going to kick off just very briefly with Sol Ruca. It was really, really refreshing to see Sol Ruca picking up the title in NXT. I'm really interested to see where this takes her. I am somewhat unsure how long she's going to carry it before she gets a push onto the main roster. I think the women's division could be doing with some bolstering, and I will get to Monday Night Raw, etc. But I feel like I am sick to death of Rhea Ripley, just being shoehorned into these types of scenarios. So you do need some fresh blood. There was some called up during the week for Monday Night Raw as well. That looks like they're going to be permanent. So just a massive shout out for Sol Ruca. She's been biding her time. It was nice to see her pick up the title. And I'm actually interested to see what kind of run she gets with it.
Yeah, she looked good, to be fair. That's the first time I've watched NXT. Oh God, since they did the initial few takeovers. Do you remember when it was just red hot? And it was
black and gold.
Yeah, it was the only WWE product really worth watching at that time between the three of them. Yeah, it was nice to see that, to be fair. I, as someone who's only just getting back into it, wasn't particularly familiar with her, but she got game. It was a good match.
Yeah, there's a few good female talents in NXT. Yeah.
I was going to say I've got a bold prediction. It's maybe something we can maybe do a special episode in a week or two, but I think we're gearing up for some future endeavours for the E in the next few weeks. There's just a logjam. There's people. Okay, we've just had a bit of a shuffle, as you said, Daz, and we're going to talk about that later on. There's a few of the females moving up to Monday Night Raw. The division there badly needs it, but it's the same guys at the top of the male card on NXT, and it has been for the last 6, 8, 9 months, and that's certainly a bit unusual.
Yep.
Post Black and Gold NXT,
Mm-hmm.
So they need to create some space for the guys.
You've definitely got shelf life and NXT.
There's a shelf life in NXT. There's a shelf life outside the top 4 or 5 feuds in the main roster. So I think there's a bold prediction. I think there's going to be changes here. Ross, do you want to just lead in with the Homer section?
Do you believe in Joe Hendry? Because I do.
I think everybody believes in Joe Hendry,
including but not limited to Joe. No, that was really cool. To see him come on and be part of it, and then obviously the name escapes me, but obviously he's getting ribbed a bit. Well, you've appeared at Mania, and you've been basically, they didn't say the word squashed, but squashed by Randy Orton. He's like, I don't care, man. I got to share a ring with RKO and Mania, and you didn't. He's over, man. The pop when he comes out is great from that small little arena. So it kind of seems like he's been involved. They've teased him on tonight's, because obviously, peeking behind the curtain, we record this on a Tuesday night, and they have teased him as he's going to be appearing on that again. So it seems like he's actually getting a bit of airtime, which is good. And then lad local to where we are from, Noam Dar, appearing back. He's not been involved in a while, and it was nice to see him. Bit of pinky power, win the Champions Cup. I mean, yeah, it's kind of
Heritage Cup. Come on,
Heritage
Champions
Cup.
Cup.
Again, filthy casual.
Part timer.
But no, it was nice to
really
see
good to see Noam back. Definitely. Nice. He's been really unlucky with injury for a long time. Every time he seems to be putting a bit of a run together, he seems to get injured. So it was nice to see him pick up the Heritage Cup.
So not the
does that make him a
Cup.
3-time winner, Saunders? Is that right?
Four-time
Four-time winner.
I believe. I'll double check. I'm sure it's 4.
Yeah.
Just buy me some time. Keep talking.
Yeah, it was really good, refreshing to see Noam back. Just to kind of take me back to Hendry, Ross, I thought that it was a really interesting segment between Trick, Joe, and Oba, because Oba's Oba's the champ, but he feels a bit like the third wheel in that segment. Don't get me wrong, I think Oba and Joe will be an incredible match if they put it 1-on-1. I think that will be an incredible booking moving forward. But I know Saunders mentioned about potential future endeavours and they're going to need a shuffle. There's going to have to be some movement. And I think that's maybe what Joe's going to be. I think Joe might be the guy to take the reins in NXT, even transitionally, to allow them to get some more male talent in to just kind of top the roster.
I think it makes sense because of the fact that he's so woman.
I was going to say, Joe screams that veteran just to hold the division together and let the younger talents establish themselves. Oba in ring for me is ready for the main roster. He comes. He's the type of guy I think you need a good manager with him. Just to do the work on the mic for him. Is he a Paul Heyman guy? Maybe not this time. Maybe in a few years' time. That type of manager. Just to do the legwork and let him just be this monster essentially in the ring, because that's what it is.
The tricky part though, and we spoke about it, it's not just a log jam in NXT, there's a log jam on the main roster as well. So when they do push these guys out of NXT, what really is their program? We'll come on to Rusev and my main man Otis a bit later, but I don't really know how we're going to book all these guys into a 3-hour show. I'm not really sure how that's going to operate. But no, it was great to see Noam back. I think Noam will be huge. If they are going to push these guys out, it'll be nice to have a couple of Scottish guys leading the talent on NXT. It'll just be interesting to see how they backfill that, because I don't think the men's division is particularly deep if you exclude the tag teams that are there.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure what kind of singles guys they've got lined up. Maybe these LFG guys. I don't know.
I'm assuming that the partnership with TNA's probably going to just start grabbing people. Like, it's got to be something like that. There's going to be someone's coming out of the performance center that you've just never heard of before.
They'll get Triple A as well, and it might be a good way for them to bleed these Triple A guys into WWE television as well after Worlds Collide in June. So there's loads of options for them. I just don't know if they've got a big name.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, because it won't be Joe long term. Joe's going to get his main roster move. I think long term that is the plan for Joe. But he's going to need to carry NXT for a wee bit, so it'll be interesting. But probably the only other call out for NXT for me is Stephanie, as Chad Gable would say, Vaquer. So yeah, I'm just impressed by her week on week. Every time I watch her, she just looks. She's the real deal. She really is. And she showed it again in Raw. But we'll come on to that. Yeah.
Aye. Sounds good to me. I've got Steph, Julia, Roxanne holding my notes here for the Raw chat anyway.
Yes.
We'll jump on to SmackDown, which I spent most of the weekend catching up on. I'll kick us off with the Cena Orton opening segment. And as we mentioned last week, and as we'll continue to mention here at the Golden Shovel, we are trying to break down the stories and the booking and do a bit of fantasy booking. And as we said last week, we all had this on our radar for later in the year. If anything, I'd had this as second or third, almost his second last match. This would have been his last match before he did the moving on match. This is the final rub to somebody. Pardon me. That's what I would have been. So the fact that it's coming so is interesting. I thought it was a decent segment. I liked the way jovially Orton went after him and said, "You have some kids," and I like the way Cena turned it around. I'm going to criticise the booking a little bit and say I can't wait to watch it. I love Cena Orton. Orton as a heel, as a slow worker. Cena as a part-timer, as a slow worker. As a heel, he's even slower. Orton's nearly laid him out twice, and I don't know. It doesn't feel like a very strong booking point of view if you're champion.
I do agree. I see. I'm sure it's his last 4 appearances on live TV. He's been laid out twice by Cody, two Crossroads, and he's 8 RKOs in his last 4 TV segments with his challenger. I don't know. There must be a long-term booking, but there must be a reason behind it. I don't know if it's to make John look weak until it's crunch time. I really don't understand it myself. It's really strange booking.
For me,
I'm happy to buy in. I'm happy to buy into the long-term story, and that's why some people I've seen online a few people have either saw it differently from us after Mania, or they've changed their mind and went, actually, I don't like the match. I still looked at it as it's the match with Cody sets up the next 8 months of TV, not the end of a feud. That's the difference between that and some other Mania matches. So I'm happy to let it play out. I just, as you say, is it to build that bit of desperation so that when he wins again at Backlash by using the title or a steel chair or whatever, it's deepening the heeledness of him. It just, I mean, I'm looking forward to watching it. It's not going to be a Cena Orton classic. It should be good. It's in Orton's hometown, so Cena's going to get massively booed at the building.
Yeah, it's perfect in that regard, I think.
Aye,
I said it last week. It's a it's a match that you want to see until the bell rings. That's how I put it last week. And the build-up's going to be great. I'm kind of, the thing that disappoints me the most is they've only given them a 2.5 week build-up. They're not going to get, like, between now and SummerSlam to build this kind of this rivalry almost. It's going to have to be a quick shot in the arm and done. The worst part
about it is there is only one outcome. Well, there's not one way. There's not one way to get there. But Cena's walking out the title. But that's the issue I've got with it.
For me, it's not going to be like a pin. There's no pin. There's no submission here. This is a Cena wins by DQ type.
Cena's going to start the ref.
Yeah, there's something.
He's going to call back to
the slap to the ref would be a great callback.
And don't get me wrong, that's fine. But yeah,
it would buy into the ruin in wrestling again. Yeah, I think, I don't know. Like I say, it's a match I'm desperate to see until the bell rings. I don't want John's run to be
shite.
Desperation, pretty much. I don't want it to be, like, I like the heel side of it. I said this last week. I loved it. It was a classic heel finish. It was a kick in the balls, and then it was smacked in the face with a title on 1, 2, 3. It was
not every 4 weeks.
Heel work. It was great. But I just don't want it to be every time he defends it, that's how it ends. I would like to see him in his final run being a bit super Cena, but as a heel. I'd like to see him bury these guys. I'd like to see him actually go over strong. But like you say, it's in Orton's hometown, so I'm not going to bury Orton for Cena in his hometown.
I want to see him. I do want to see Cena. I want to see the 5 moves of doom. And I want to see the crowd getting on their feet booing it, and I want to see them cheering it. And I want it just to be. I just want it to be a complete mess. But not, as you say, not shite. And that's the only word I can really describe it. Like the end of the Mania match makes sense, but it doesn't make sense if we just do that every 4 weeks until December. I want to see. Remember the year he just went into his bag and he was like pulling out code reds and top rope hurricane runners. I want to see just shit like that. I just seen it like again, but I was always more than 5 minutes doom. Just lean into that, blame the crowd, say you made me the 5 minutes doom. I've always been more than that. This is what but it's like you get nothing, and I'm like, all right, but give us something, otherwise we're going to hate your last year. Like, give us.
I know we get nothing.
That's the heel work. Just give something.
Yeah, something they can sell.
Even if you just bait me, just bait me with something.
The only sort of concern I would have is that you can tell certainly to an extent with his Mania match. Obviously, we haven't seen one. I don't think we're going to see one this coming week either. We're not going to see a match until Backlash. My concern is that he knows he can't get injured. Like, he cannot get injured at all during this run. Because could you imagine how shit that would be for his legacy to be, he's missed 4 months because of injury, not because he's off filming a movie again. Like, that's my concern is, are we going to see it? Like, are they going to wait till it's like really on, like September, where it's like, right, okay, let's go for it now?
They're going to have to be careful with him, obviously, because he is old. There's no shying away for that. He's more prone to injury now than he's ever been. And with the types of injuries he's had before, they're probably more likely to be recurring. So they're going to have to play it safe with him. That's probably is why he's eating RKO's and Crossroads on live TV, because
Puts him
he's not going to be
in
able.
the segment.
He's not going to go
Aye.
in and face anybody. So I don't know how that's going to look. I personally think it fits the persona to have him only fight at PLEs. I like that. He said himself, it's 27 appearances, it's not 27 matches. It builds into that. But I just want a wee bit more from his final run. But I'm like you, Saunders, I'll buy in to the long-term booking of this. I think they're maybe just trying to get him up to speed before they start to actually have him engage in proper wrestling matches. And I think booking Orton in his hometown against Cena is a quick win for the feud. Orton gets
it's safe.
Orton's over
safe.
regardless.
Aye.
Absolutely. And his two guys are safe to work with each other.
Aye.
What I do want for his run is I want at least one where he fights an up and comer. I want at least one. I have a feeling I thought it was initially going to be Logan Paul. We'll come to Logan Paul, but it's not going to be Logan based on his current program. So I'd like to think hope it'll be somebody new. Maybe a wee title match with a certain Latino heat. That would be excellent.
Aye. We'll save some of this, and stuff when we do the Backlash preview, which we'll record as a separate podcast after the Golden Shovel next week. And we'll get that nice and clipped up for TikTok, and hopefully you guys will join us in the comments with your predictions for them. Again, as we're talking about this stuff, get involved in all the usual socials. You can find us at the Nerd Pandemic. Let us know what you think about the Cena Orton feud. Let us know where you think it's going. Fantasy book the next 8 months. If ESPN posted a tweet today, we'll try and stick it somewhere. It's absolute fucking nonsense. There's no way his last match is Saturday night's main event in December, but there is some intrigue there.
If it's Saturday night main event, I think I will be done with the business. If they're going to send Cena out on a Saturday night main event,
the podcast may be over prematurely.
Me and Hunter at Mania, let me tell you, book me and Hunter at Mania.
The message that we received earlier on saying that apparently WWE have trademarked December to Dismember is an interesting one, because that is one thing we brought up last week, is there is no PLE for December. So
save that for fantasy booking.
We'll get that. We'll get to there.
Because I know what I want in December to Dismember. It's the same thing I asked for last year, and I'm not going to get it, but I know what I want. Before I come to you guys for your SmackDown thoughts, I'll just quickly, because we could talk about the scene and stuff all day, we'll just quickly jump on Aleister Black. Looked amazing. The music still hits. Black Mass is still just beautiful in the ring to watch out of nowhere. Miz is down. It's a safe first shoot back. The black versus the white. Straightforward, clean, nice. Happy with it.
I don't like it. I like the music and I like that he's back. The Miz is... They need to make their mind up what they want the Miz... I mean, he's been with Melo for so long. Like, I don't get this program with Black. See if it's 2 weeks until Backlash is finished, I'll stomach it. But I've got a feeling it's not going to be 2 weeks. I feel like they're going to book this for about 6 weeks. Miz is excellent on the mic, and he always is going to be, so the promo work's going to be excellent. He's a step behind in the ring now, and I don't know, it doesn't move the needle for me, the Miz. Also, the kick was terrible. His actual black mask was terrible. Caught him under the armpit. It was a really, really... How's he still selling that eye gimmick? He's still got that contact lens in. For that steel steps about 6 years ago. He's selling that hard. I know, talk about long-term booking. I don't know, I'm far more enthusiastic about Rusev's return than I am about Black. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm the opposite.
Don't get me wrong, that's prior to how I seen him being booked on Monday night. But I do think that Miro is much more convincing than Malakai, if you want to use that.
I'll give you. I think I'm more interested in Aleister Black because I see him as a world champion. I don't see Rusev as a world champion anymore.
Do you really see Black as carrying the brand? Can you see Black as world champion?
Not WWE champion, world champion. And that's what we talked about last week, when it is that just shows us the two different tiers.
I don't think the guy's not got it for me. I don't know. The guy's not
I see it, but
player.
It wouldn't take long for me to change my mind. Like I saw it 8 years ago, and then I didn't see it 7 years ago, if that makes sense. 6 years ago, like he had it there, I thought he lost it.
He was red hot when he came out of NXT. He was red hot, and he could have been world champ, but
and that's where I am. It's either going to go that way, or it's just going to die off again. And
I
that's
just
why
don't get how a
I'm
guy who leaves the company and goes to the other company still can't get over. I just and then comes back to this company and shock of fucking shocks. He's in a program with the Miz. The guy's just going to be mid card for life. I feel. I just don't think he's it.
I totally agree. If it's the Miz Backlash and moving on, that's fine. If it's the Miz Backlash and it's still the Miz, that's somebody in the mid card.
I would be far more interested.
See if you're talking about this 8 days after Backlash, it's an automatic golden shovel that week. Why is Aleister Black still
golden shovel for the rest of his career? He's getting big for the rest of his career if he's still being booked with the Miz.
Still feuding with the Miz.
Because I can see the logic. You bring him in. The Miz has been there, done that. How long's he been in the E for? Like, are we talking like 15 years? So there's something at this point. Like, the Miz has been there forever.
I think it's 20.
Yeah, like that sounds about right.
But you're also putting him against a guy who absolutely shits on him in terms of promo. So his mic work will bury Black because Black on the mic isn't particularly good. So
it's on the mic. He's a bit more storyteller, less back and forward. It's different style, and it doesn't always mesh.
It won't mesh with the Miz, I don't think.
Nah.
The Miz is in your face, loud, brash, reactive.
But at the same
I just don't think the two of them are going to.
If it ends and Black pins him, because I mean it's the Miz. People will always cheer for the Miz. You'll always get a reaction. A loss is not going to hurt him. And if Black does move on, it could work. It could genuinely work and actually be like, oh, do you know what? Fine, you've eased him in.
Is the Miz a feud that's going to propel you from mid card to potential main eventer? No,
it's not going to propel you in one go. But at the same time, you can't really bring a guy like him back and go right straight into the main event for you. You have to give them a couple of months.
Somebody speak to Cody Rhodes.
Well, see when we get to the Raw section, I'll talk about that with David if they can do it. But Ross,
there's only one more thing worth talking about in SmackDown, I feel.
I wanted to mention Zelina because I think
that was a good match, to be fair.
She deserved it. She deserves it. She's been brilliant over the last few years. She's over with the crowd. But if they don't do something with these two women's mid-card titles, we'll keep this short. They're just going to die out in the next 6 months. They've done nothing for MD.
We'll come to IC because IC is beginning to heat up a wee bit.
But they're having to do what we said last week and they're having to use a person to elevate the title to them.
Elevate
the person. Aye.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Tables and ladders and chairs. Oh my! Have we just skipped to TLC match now?
No, I was just about to say on Zelina Vega. I do like that she picked up the title. The cat might be out the bag. Guess who's getting my golden shovel this week? I felt odd that they left her off the Mania card in any regard, the mid-card titles, because Lyra was obviously teamed up with Bayley and then Becky, and Chelsea Green never made it onto the card at all. And then, even if they put in a program on Stand and Deliver, just as an extra match, and then to have her drop the title, I don't know, it felt odd. The dynamics were weird because there was the building a wee bit with Chelsea. The Secret Harvest and stuff like that, and it kind of fell apart a wee bit. I would have much preferred them to have kept the title and have been Piper Niven turn heel. I'd have preferred that, and maybe put the title on Piper. But again, there must be a reason to put it on Zelina. Be interesting to see if we've got any kind of Latin American tours or etc. coming up where they can similar to Gender and stuff like that. When maybe. It'll help boost some ticket sales and stuff. So she does deserve it though. She's been in the business for a long time. She's put the work in, so she does deserve a run with the title. But again, I'm not convinced she's the person to elevate the title. And I don't think that title's going to elevate her. I think she's maybe just keeping it warm. Let's do it.
Do we want to do a quick 60 seconds on the likelihood is Tiffy's first shoot's going to be Nia. Makes sense. Absolutely fine.
It does make sense.
Nia had a really good run last year. No issue with that. I think Nia takes it back off her. I'm not going to lie. I think Nia takes it off her.
You didn't see it, Ross, to be fair. Nia had a really good run as champion last year.
Annoyingly good.
I stand by my opinions. that she is
I
just
hate the Rock's,
awful.
the majority of the Rock's family, right? So that includes Nia Jax. Me and Dwayne have got beef. Yeah, I know, but see, to be honest, she did have a really good heel run. Tiffany helped her elevate that with the constant money in the bank. Is she going to cash it in? The two of them ran a good promo, have a good program together. So they actually they merge. The two of them are good together in ring as well. So I don't want it to be long term.
No,
I'd like it to be.
It's not the SummerSlam feud. It's the feud before the SummerSlam feud.
Aye, it's definitely somebody. I think Cargill might be the long term booking for Tiffy. We got a taste of that on Friday night, obviously. Ended in DQ. Without saying too much in fantasy booking way ahead, Cargill can't hold a title either. Couldn't cut the promo. She's Bianca without the mic work, to be honest. I don't think she's
not as good as Bianca. She's good, but
no,
she's
no,
not
no.
as good.
I mean, she's the muscle mummy. She's the person that's going to throw people about the ring and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't see that main eventer in Jade Cargill. So is that 60 seconds? Can we move on to the main talking point?
We've got one there because it's the one thing Ross has mentioned all day. number one contenders match.
That for me, right? That was a bloody good mess. That was a nonsense, and it was absolutely phenomenal to watch because the match itself was decent, and now you've got this situation where there's 4 of them at the end, and you have absolutely no idea what they're going to do with that.
I know what they're doing. It's Backlash filler.
Well, it might be, right?
Priest and Drew are finished. Drew's just been kept away for the main event because I reckon he's one of the names that's possibly in frame for the rub when the Cena goes. He has to be. He's the type of guy that could do it. It's probably going to be Cody, but Drew will be close by. LA Knight needs something to do for a couple of months until we start his SummerSlam foot because I think we all rate him. And Fatu is not dropping it. It's just pure filler for next week. Yeah. Unfortunately, and I'm with you. If this was 2 weeks before SummerSlam, I'd be like, brilliant. This is class. Fatu's the title for 4 months. It could change hands. We've got four of the best workers really in the ring working together, cutting promos. But we don't. It's 2 weeks after Mania. It's just not happening, is it? It's just
getting these guys on TV. It's definitely just getting them on TV and getting them working ahead of the bigger PPVs to come. Or PLEs, rather. Sorry, that was my attitude era showing there. PPVs.
We'll call that 60 seconds and we'll say the only match I'd have been able to watch in full for last week is Tables, Ladders and Chairs. I'm going to sit back, let you two go because you watched it obviously live or almost live. The one thing I'm going to say is I'm going to throw out a huge controversial statement. We can clip this for TikTok. This is at least as good as ENC, Dudley's, Hardy's. It might even have been the best tag team TLC match of all time.
I cannot think of many that were better.
In my opinion, it was better than the Hardys and Dudley.
If you take nostalgia at it,
100%. I think the only thing that was better in the original Triple Threat TLC was the big spot. And the only reason I say that is that there's obviously added jeopardy with Dawkins and Ciampa because there's a table involved. But it's just rotten luck or maybe that's the way they plan to do this, but Dawkins takes it on his knees. I think see if the camera angle's different, it does, you wouldn't notice. But the camera angle they showed as he takes all the whack on his knees, so it takes away from the spot a wee bit. But I agree, I thought it was excellent. How the two divisions are so.
Let's skip this bit because I've got this in my raw notes. I know it's arse.
Motor City Machine Guns could quite easily be champions. See, my opinion, the least believable are Ciampa and Gargano, which is kind of mad. Which is mad because for a long time they were it. No, I thought it was excellent. I honestly couldn't pick a flaw in it. I thought it was a really, really great match. Should have been on the Mania card. There's no getting away for that.
The only thing I'm going to say about that is I would have been worried that it would have been a match that wouldn't have been given 30 minutes. Like
it wouldn't have got the runtime that it did. But it definitely
that is good enough to main event a night of WrestleMania.
Yeah, like
don't get me wrong.
Quality-wise, yeah.
Aye, unbelievable match.
Name-wise, no.
Aye, that's the issue.
See, to be honest, see if it wasn't for Becky's return, it probably should have just pushed that tag match off the card.
Aye.
But yeah.
No, it was,
Roscoe, your thoughts?
It was perfect. Like, if I was sitting watching that when I was very much working on Monday, and it just flew by. Like, you know, that for me is like one of the sort of barometers for an excellent match. If it's anything above 15 or 20 minutes and you just don't notice, because you're just dialed in. You're like, oh my god, what is going to happen next? Every spot, the execution, everything just flowed together so well. The big spear, I mean, excellent. Those are the kind of things that when you're a kid, like growing up watching wrestling, those are the kind of matches that kind of stick with you. Like, could you imagine if you were like 9 or 10 years old and you chucked on SmackDown and you saw that like really, really early on? That's the kind of thing that like really makes you go, wow, man, this is cool. I thought the right guys go over as well. Like, but really everyone out of that match comes out looking great. Genuinely, like, that's
the point I'm glad you got to, because I was going to bring that up. Is like, you're watching the 3 tag teams and you're going to just run it back. Let's just date every week until we get bored. The three teams are just brilliant.
We'll just change the stipulation every week. We'll just run through the entire SmackDown versus Raw catalogue for 2007.
May as well.
Montez Ford, honestly, everything Ricochet wishes he was. He's just it. He is incredible.
That's a strays, man.
That's bait.
Honestly, everything about the guy.
Ed and Tom Hardy said that's bait somewhere for TikTok.
Where is the CCO? Where is he?
He is honestly incredible. He's just so believable. That's a guy that could step out his tag team and pick up a world title. He could go on the meanest heel run. It would be incredible.
There's see, the thing for me that does is you're talking about. See when they disappeared off telly for a while. I think one of the guys was injured, and I can't remember which one it was. It was injured. Their stock was almost at its lowest. They'd won the titles. They'd lost them. They'd been forgotten about. They've came back on a heel turn, and it's just major stonks. Like, I'm so invested in the Street Profits again. Like, I would have had.
Are they actually heel? Do you know that way? Like, they're supposed to be the bad guys, but they're just. Everybody loves them.
It's good to watch. I mean,
like, what bad guy gets cheered for taking a prosthetic leg out the crowd and smacking something in the back with it? Like,
seeing the social media clips of that the next day, where it's like they because it's the actual guy's POV. They used my leg. Superb, like, fantastic.
It's the other thing, that the final thing I'm going to mention before we move on to the Raw recap. Well, move on to the plug and then the Raw recap is. The tag team wrestling at its best, like the psychology of being a tag team in a ladder match or a TLC match. Like, there's a point where the Motorcycle Machine Guns, who, you know, I first watched in TNA 15 years ago, and I think they're brilliant. There's a point in the match where they're both ready to climb the ladder, but only one climbs it and one guards.
Yeah,
like we things like that. It's storytelling. It's like, well, why would we both climb the ladder? Because if we both get knocked out, we're humped. Whereas if one of us goes up, one of us guards, we can protect ourselves.
It was good, man. Like, I really, you just can't find a flaw in it.
Team wrestling.
Like, I know that Daz in particular is not necessarily a fan of him, but I think Big Dave Meltzer's surely I've got to give that a big 5-star. Like, it was fantastic. It was unreal.
Fuck Dave Meltzer.
He'll find a way to get 3 somehow. Well, that rounds up SmackDown for us. Quick overview. Cena Orton, we're invested for Cena. The Cena run all the way to December, but it does need to change a little bit. For if we're having these conversations in a month or two, we're going to be bored. Aleister Black, fine with the Miz for a couple of weeks, but what's the plan? And just put the 3 tag teams in matches every week.
Yeah.
If in doubt, just every week. Yeah. This is the part of the show where we stick up all our socials over here and we plug at
here.
So we basically plug the at Nerd Pandemic on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and X. Although we're not very active on X. Best place to grab us is TikTok. We're always looking for comments, questions, your thoughts on the booking, your thoughts on our thoughts on the bookings and the storytelling. We are replying to every comment we get, every message we get, pretty much. DMs, we'll reply. We'll shout you out the podcast. We'll answer your question, and we'll comment on whatever storyline you think is worthwhile commenting on. So at the Nerd Pandemic and all the usual places, please like, follow, subscribe, share, whatever you need to do. Monday Night Raw. I'll kick us off. Again for Raw, I'll save some of the good stuff. I'll jump straight into let's believe it or not, there was when I started writing it down. I'm going to let's call this another 60 seconds, right? The Becky Lyra promo. As you nominated it last week, this whole situation for the Golden Trouble, and I was ready after reading the Raw notes to throw it back the table this week. I feel like they've rushed the whole Becky heel turn, the story. That was my first thought. However, we're clearly going to get Becky Bayley at SummerSlam. That's set, and I'm honestly all in. Literally two best women wrestlers on the planet for the last 6-7 years, in my opinion. Love them, both of them. Can't wait for it. Becky cut a good promo. Lyra came out.
She didn't.
I thought Lyra then hit.
Lyra cut a brilliant promo.
Lyra then cut a brilliant promo, and that's what I'm saying. Becky will take the title at Backlash to elevate the title, but there's a clear path to Lyra going over long term in this story and being elevated. I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I can see it. Becky
at Backlash,
is set up.
Does Becky take the title?
She either takes the title or doesn't because of Bayley.
That's what my booking is for it. I don't think she takes the title.
I think she does take it so that Lyra can win it back.
I don't know. I don't know how they're going to book it. I'll be honest.
But Lyra was elevated, and that's the purpose of that story. So the booking decision at Mania didn't make a lot of sense. The booking decision on the Monday after Mania didn't make a lot of sense. The fact that Lyra was allowed to look strong and cut a really good promo with somebody who's a good talker is perfect for her. So, okay, we'll get the Becky Hogan chance, but she's leaned into Becky Hogan.
Which I like.
She leaned right into the CVV interview with Bayley and just called her out and said, "This is what a superstar looks like." So, all in elevating Lyra and all in for Becky Bayley at SummerSlam if that's the way they go.
Yeah, if that's the path they take, I think that could work. I think that would be fine.
Roscoe, you want to kick us off? Next topic for Monday Night Raw recap?
For me, I thought the next thing that was kind of interesting was the whole Logan Paul segment. I am not a lover of Logan Paul, both as just as a human being on a fundamental level. I disagree with his very existence, but the guy is absolutely superb when you put a mic in front of him, as much as it pains me to say it. And it was quite refreshing in a way to see this guy get that sort of old school 90s noughties heat. I really enjoyed watching that. I thought that was a superb segment. And what I agree with Daz was a sort of ropey Raw overall. That for me stood out.
The spoiler alert for all of our viewers and followers, all 29 of you for the last episode. We've all been high on Logan Paul since the day he came out of WWE. Not because we particularly like the guy, and he has his moments where you're like, he's not a dick this week, but he is an athlete who can talk and he can handle the heat and he can handle the crowd. His heats went from go away heat to people respect him as a heel, and we've always, as members of the IWC for a number of years, we've always said, look, I don't care who you are, if you go into the ring and take a big bump, you get a level of respect that's up here, because not enough people do it, and you don't criticise it. That's fine. If you do it once, you get respect, and if you do it week after week and you get and put a show on, we said last week he's getting better and better. He can take the loss. He's not going to beat Jay, but we could have a dirty finish, and they could probably have a couple of matches at this. It doesn't need to be a one and done, and they can both talk. I think that was Jay's. That was another good promo from Jay. We criticised at the Mania last 2 or 3 weeks leading into it. He stepped up after the attack on Jimmy. That was what he did as a world champion for the first time. He had control of the crowd. He toned down his yeeting. he acknowledged the crowds, he got the balance right. That's the elevation he was missing. Is the crowd work, but Daz.
I would prefer to see the title on Logan than on Jay, personally. I think Logan Paul as a human being is horrendous. But as a talent, he's a real deal. He's really similar to Dom, although Dom's heat was manufactured. Logan's is real. It would be a lot harder to turn Logan face. I don't think they'll ever be able to turn him face.
No.
I don't think he'll ever get over with the crowd. I would have liked the program with Logan Paul and Dom. That would have been the program that I wanted. Is Logan going to be in the main event picture for a wee bit? Are they going to book him as a main eventer at SummerSlam? I don't know. Is he ready?
I think he's in the Intercontinental title picture at SummerSlam. Like if SummerSlam's a multi-man match for an IC title or a US title, that's where I would see Logan Paul, because he can do his spots. He can. I mean, we've seen it. You've seen him work one-on-one with Roman and Rey Mysterio and these guys. So, I'm all in the feud. I'm like, if we talk about storytelling, talk about the booking.
The only thing I would say is when you book him with Roman, you know the outcome.
Yes, but we knew the outcome every day for 4 years.
Is he a believable main event, or is he a believable potential champion?
He is in this feud. I don't think he takes it at Backlash, but see if it's a 2 or 3 match series, you could talk me into it. You could talk me into see if there is any truth to the potential that Cena will ruin wrestling by taking both titles for a period of time. Jay to Logan to John, I could see it. Or it's going to be Rollins. Rollins is going to be he will world champion the next 6 months. There's no doubt. Probably SummerSlam, unless it is Roman versus Rollins on that card, which maybe we could fantasy book SummerSlam after Backlash. We could do a really early prediction of what we think it's going to look like.
Sort of reflect back
all
on
in
it.
That, all in that feud. I've got 2 or 3 more high points from Raw. Let's talk about the low point. The tag division is on its knees. It needs serious help. I have no investment in the New Day without Becky, even as heels. I want to like them as heels. It's just boring. I can't be bothered with them. The Viking Raiders experience, War Raiders, whatever they're called this week, Clash of Titans, Clash of Clans, whatever the hell was sponsored them, no interest. And they're good in the ring. It's just, I'm not buying it. I can even tell you, honestly, just have Fraxium take the titles and then figure the rest out. My one bit of fantasy booking that I had was if Buddy Matthews, Buddy Murphy, whatever you want to call him this week, ever gets released, do we get House of Black on Raw as an option?
I mean, they could do with options, I think, because I mean,
they need some because it's complete crap.
I thought the
Judgment Day.
Fraxium should shake it up quite a bit. I do think they need to shuffle at least another team off of SmackDown, and I think it will be Motor City Machine Guns.
I think it will be.
I think they will move on to Monday Night Raw, and they'll pick up the titles pretty quickly. Them and Fraxium will run a brilliant.
I was going to say,
they'll run an excellent.
That's a SummerSlam match there.
Although, having said that, on Raw they did tease the Lucha Bros, so they did tease Lucha Bros. So I would prefer. What would I prefer? Would I prefer Lucha Bros or would I prefer Motor City Machine Guns and Fraxium? Do we do another triple threat? Do we throw that in the mix? I said this last week when I said that Penta was potentially the golden shovel to book him in the tag division. I think that'll have come to fruition, because once you're in the tag division, it's incredibly difficult to get back out.
Especially how strong he was booked for his debut.
Yeah.
He was booked as a superstar, and Penta and Rey Fenix, if they're booked in the tag division as the saviours of the Raw tag division, they might get away with it. But not if they're still there at the start of 2026. You're like, nah,
because it will bury all his momentum, because he's still over, even with his losses. The crowd still love him.
He was booked as the world champion. That's how he was being booked. And if not only is it the tag division, it's the Raw tag division, which has just been the judgment day for the last.
Because if you're going to know have them as champions, it's got to be somebody believable. And right now, there is nobody believable in that division on Raw.
It's got to be Fraction need to save it, but I'd be worried that booking Fraction with any of those teams would bury them. But they're so hot. You want them to face the Guns or the Lucha Bros an actual tag team. I'm hoping that it is just tag team match.
I'm hoping it is just going to be a one and done for the Lucha Bros until they can get to a shake up. That they're just going to pair the two together, stick them in the ring with these guys. Fraction will win the title in a triple threat. They'll run a program with them, and then they'll split them up again. And the shake up, maybe they'll move Ray Phoenix onto SmackDown or something like that. And
I think you run the Lucha Bros to SummerSlam. We have Lucha Bros versus Gable and El Grande Americano, and then we split them up and send one to SmackDown. That's my long term fantasy
booking, by the way. I'm so up for that.
I know.
Well, so Gable doesn't show up and it's a 1v2. I'm so up for
that. Or even better, where you've got El Grande Americano and a fake Gable. Like, it's not a fake Grande Americano. Have a fake Gable instead. Just have a complete twist.
What's Jason Jordan up to?
He's a producer, isn't he? Because he's got a fuck neck.
Yeah.
So tag division after the high of Becky being able to elevate Lyra looking like an absolute superstar, which is what the women's division on Raw needs, because we're going to talk about that in a minute or two. And the high of All In on Logan Paul versus Jay is great, especially if you've got a 2 week build, because the two of them clearly can talk. The Raw tag division is just it's diabolical. It's pathetic. Daz, what you got for us from last night's recap?
There wasn't much else really to write home about on Raw, if I'm honest, other than the women. So I don't want to steal too much of your thunder. But I'll just pick up with Stephanie Vaquer. And I'll focus more on the match with Ivy Nile rather than the other women. It was a highlight for me on Raw last night. Ivy's not been booked for a long time. There's no doubt she can wrestle. Having her even in the spotlight just with Chad, with it American Made, helps an awful lot. But I thought the two of them put on a really good match last night. It wasn't amazing. It was just a good wrestling match.
Good TV match.
Yeah, it was just a good wrestling match. Ivy's very much like Gable. She's a technical wrestler. Stephanie can work, but she's also got the it factor. She will be world champion. There is no two ways about it. She will definitely take the main roster title, probably within the next 12 to 18 months. She will be world champ in some capacity. It might not be on Raw. It might actually be EO. I'm not sure how they're going to work it. So, but she's definitely ready. I just don't know if the women's division in NXT is ready to give her up full time yet, based on which will lead into what you want to talk about, to be honest.
Aye, this is where I talk about the shake-up. Obviously, Roxanne and Julia, they appear to have now been called up. They're working together, which fine with. Two of them are brilliant talents. Stephanie appears not to have been called up because she's still holding the title, but is obviously working Monday Night Raw, which is absolutely fine. There is a log jam at the top of NXT Women's Division because Jordan Grace is still there, who's clearly a main roster talent. Obviously, she came across with TNA at the start of the year permanently. My big concern is, again, it's almost like the tag division.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate with Bianca's injury. You've got Io and you've got Rhea, and that's it. And Rhea will take that title from Io at some point this year, I believe, unfortunately, because there's no one else. If I was fantasy booking ahead, I would seriously consider moving Nia Jax or Naomi across from SmackDown to be the heel. And because Naomi's world champion this year on SmackDown.
That's exactly where I was going to take it.
She's earned it, but I really like the Nia feud. They don't need the two big heels. Nia's never going to be a face, unfortunately for her. She's never going to be a face. One of them on Raw, just to give them a proper heel, give Rhea something else to do, give Io something else to do, whatever it is.
Well, Liv's
Obviously,
taking time off, so
to film,
um,
and
it
you're
looks
left.
like Roxanne and Julie are going to pick up the tag titles probably.
Yeah.
That's probably where that's headed. So I'll be interested to see how they do book Rhea, because if they're just going to throw the title back on Rhea because there's nobody else really to challenge Io, we're just going to end up in a loop with these two, because Becky's not coming back full time.
Nah, I don't
Bailey's working Becky, so she's not going to be in the title picture for a while.
unless
Anybody else credible enough?
unless Bailey and Becky ends up being for the title at SummerSlam. I hope it's not, because I feel as if it is for the title, the only options for Bailey to go over. I feel as though without the title, there's at least it can go either way, because Becky could go over and they could revisit it for a second and a third match, you know, Mania, Rumble, whatever next year, as part of a sort of part-time schedule. So the women's division on Raw needs a shake-up. It looks as though that shake-up's starting, but I don't think either of the three of them. I think Stephanie Vaquer is ready to world champion, but in the ring. But that's not everything in WWE main roster. It's the presentation, the mic work, the promotional work outside the ring. All matters. That takes time. That's why Jordan.
In 12 to 18 months, I think she will be it.
She's probably primed for a Mania payoff next year.
Yeah,
she's potentially a Rumble winner, though that might still be too early, maybe SummerSlam next year, but she's in that type of range. I think Naomi or Nia going to Raw would just help the next, because we all know for a fact that SummerSlam will happen. There'll be some big changes. There'll be some feuds for a couple of months, but see when we get to October, November, we're already looking at the Mania feud starting.
Yeah.
We know it's not a 60-day build up now; it's a 6-month build up to Mania. So they would give us something to work with until SummerSlam, which is only 4 months away, I think now. But it needs something.
Yep. The good thing now is, though, between now and SummerSlam, there's like three live shows jammed in there. You've got Clash in Paris. You've got Money in the Bank before it now.
And then obviously,
because
Money in the Bank will also be in there.
Clash in Paris is in August. It's really close to SummerSlam, which is again, is it going to be a glorified house show? Really, it probably is, because they're not going to make big changes.
Clash at the Castle. That is what it'll be. So it's interesting to see. It's hard to predict right now with these new talents coming up if they're going to move anybody else. For me, it should be Naomi. Naomi's ready to take that title as a heel. They're going to work her and Jade a wee bit longer. I don't know if it's going to move into Bianca. I don't really know where her part in this is anymore.
If you move Naomi, the feud's there when Bianca's fit. You know what I mean? Like it makes too much sense.
It would be a great first program for her as champion, I think. Would be Bianca. I think it'd be a great first program. So yeah, I'm interested. But it was probably the last highlight on Raw for me. Was Steph and Ivy Nile was probably the main highlight for me.
We've got a Saturday night's main event at the end of May, which 2 weeks after Backlash, that doesn't count. It's just a house show with cameras. We've got Money in the Bank from California on June the 7th. Another Saturday night's main event in the middle of July, which again doesn't count. And then
June the 7th. When is Worlds Collide?
Same day.
I thought that. That's interesting. So you're telling me Money in the Bank, you're probably not going to have Ray Phoenix, Penta. These guys are surely going to be on Worlds Collide.
You would think so. Actually, Worlds Collide's in the afternoon.
Andrade and all that are going to be booked on that, so that'll be interesting.
That'll be interesting.
That maybe explains why they're putting them in the tag division. Maybe that explains that, to be fair.
SummerSlam's the first weekend of August, so they brought it forward again. 2 nights, which means realistically we're at the start of May now. So it's only 3 months. It's 12 weeks. 12 weeks.
It's normally bank holiday. And the bank holiday's beginning August. Aye. It's beginning this year. Yeah.
Aye, and then at the end of August is Clash in Paris. I didn't run the wrong way. That's my fault. That's an interesting show, because that's in a stadium. That's a 30,000 seat stadium, so that's interesting. That could be a decent sized show. And then there's a show in Australia in October.
Yes, the Perth. Yeah.
Perth, which
John's advertised for that, so he's still going to be champ. Let's be honest.
Is that Rhea taking the title? Is Rhea holding the title at some point? Who knows?
I would like to hope that that's when they're going to kill Theory and
Nah, it needs to happen. It needs to happen
before then.
Aye.
No, I mean in terms of they two
Aye.
running a program, it would be it makes sense to break it then. But again, the crack showed last night that Grayson's going to be on TV next week.
In theories, no. And then Survivor Series November, and obviously December to dismember's been rumoured. There's 2 talking points left from Monday Night Raw. First one, again, we could probably do this in 60 seconds. The idea of Sami Zayn as part of that stable did not cross my mind until I seen it. I was like, oh, that actually works. They're obviously, it's a strange one because they teased the heel turn with Jay the week before. Then he went all in on being a face this week, so I'm a little confused because if he then snaps and turns heel in a month or two's time, like, why would you not take the deal and have your championship match with John Cena?
This is my gripe, right? This,
from a booking point of view, you would take the deal.
Yes.
Yeah, the deal in itself is a nonsense thing to throw out there. Is a why is
Paul Heyman can do that?
Way to book your championship match on
why is Paul Heyman?
Brand.
Why is Paul Heyman not booking Rollins in that match tomorrow?
But then the other issue I've got, I'm just sick of this Sami Zayn persona that he's always wants to be. I'll do it the right way. I'll do it my way. I'm getting really bored of Sami. They missed their chance to make him world champ because there was a better option, and I'm just sick of him. I'm just really bored of Sami. I think what he really needs is a heel turn. It is what he needs. I don't think he's the right guy to be the third guy in that stable. I don't think that suits him for a heel turn. I would like to see him on a proper heel turn, attack Jay, maybe even at Backlash, and just
he has to
the
be.
match up or something. I don't know.
He can't be in that stable, and the reason he can't be in that stable is it only ends one way with him turning on Rollins, and it's just a repeat of what we had 2 years ago with the Bloodline story. That's the reason why it doesn't work. He's early murmurings that he's a potential Rumble favourite.
It'd be bad booking in my opinion.
I don't see it.
There's so much more plausible talent that should go over than. It'd be great to see Braun win it. I think Braun would be an excellent.
I
know. Strowman, by the way, I'm talking about.
Talk about storytelling. The bit where he tells Rollins to go to hell and the camera zooms in on Rollins and you just hear the alarms going in the background is just peak. Like
every time someone messes
reaction.
Up, that should happen. That should be the reaction. Every time someone says something to Rollins, that should happen. That
the alarm should go. The dog should start barking and Braun Breaker spears you.
Yeah,
that's should happen.
It was great. It was good. I do wonder. I do think you're right in that it just felt a bit odd. Because you're right, from a booking perspective, you would just take it. Is there going to be some sort of situation where like they cut to him next week and he's like, I don't know, regretting it, kind of like confiding in other people, going, oh, should I have done that? No, I shouldn't have done that. Oh no, maybe I should have, and then tries to call it in a Backlash or something. I don't know. It's going to be a strange one. I really don't know how they're going to. It'd be
really cool if they cost you the title though. I'd be so up for that. Sami and Logan's corner would be excellent in my opinion.
It was Sami that first brought him to WWE, wasn't it? Even before the program of the Miz, he brought him on like a one-off.
True.
A one-off guest appearance promo type thing. Wasn't a match, so there's maybe a world in which they call back to
legs in that.
Dare I say some long-term storytelling? Maybe.
Not in this company. We don't get that very often.
It's not going to make sense if Sami talks to Jay last week, talks to Rollins this week, and talks to somebody else next week. Like, what's the plan? And things can be week to week. We don't need long-term storytelling for every story, but Sami Zayn's at a level where there should be an obvious path. And I think the enforced thing is if he is potentially pegged as a main event player next year and it is the Rumble, it was just going to have 8 months of crap because they can't put him anywhere for 8 months. That's
I think
my
Sami's
issue.
program will be carrying Cross. I think that'll probably be the route they take because they teased it with AJ and they're not going to do that with AJ anymore. It's going to be AJ and Dom, but I like it.
Which I like that.
Even in the short term. So I think Sami and Karrion probably work off of each other. I think the two of them would make good TV. But we're overdue Cross actually being booked properly. So he needs somebody strong to be in there with. So I don't know. I think that's probably my bold shout for Sami is Karrion Kross.
I like it.
Aye. I think there's definitely an opportunity as well where they could work together as a team. If Sami buys into what Karrion Kross is telling him, it gives you an extra team on Raw to work with, and then they have a split in a feud. That could buy you 3-4 months of storytelling. Karrion Kross, I just feel as though we've often got we can actually do in the ring when he gets a chance.
Kross would need to go over in that feud as well. He would need to, because if Sami goes over, it buries him. So
aye. And then the last talking point is Pat versus Gunther.
Pat,
I have no interest in this. It was a great promo, great speech, loved it. But Gunther will sell a few spots, but at the end of the day, he's going to kill him. He has to kill him. He has to kill him.
I think that's
I'm worried though. I'm really worried about the way they've booked this. I'm really scared that Bill Goldberg's going to turn up.
Aye. Pat McAfee will have help. Someone will have to interfere for him. It will be an ex-football player. And if it's Goldberg,
I
don't know,
please
man.
Don't make it be Gronk or something. Go back to that. Like Gronk's done this before. Just get
Mojo Rawley. Okay.
Or Mojo. Fine.
I love Gronk knows. Gronk doesn't even know what day it is.
I get that, right? But seriously, please don't put Bill Goldberg on me again. Like I thought it was good.
To be honest, if there's anybody that Bill
insert Ricky, don't you put the evil on me, Ricky Bobby up here somewhere? Big, a chance.
I think that if there's anybody that Goldberg's going to work with, will be somebody like Gunther, and it will be short term. It's a bit early if they're planning to do it in Saudi, but Gunther's SummerSlam, can he be Bill Goldberg? It just can't be.
I've got the schedule in front of me, and yes, a fair point. There is no Saudi show this year. The next Saudi show is the Rumble, and that seems
an awful long way away.
There must be.
There'll be that super show where they fight for the big title, so that thing will be on at some point.
Aye,
but see, to be fair, I think the Perth show has replaced that in the calendar. That's why they gave them the Rumble potentially. I don't know.
No, I think the reason they gave them the Rumble is because they probably threw $500 million at them and said we want the Rumble in our WrestleMania. Let's be honest. Spoiler alert, this will be the worst Rumble you've ever watched in your life because
they had the greatest Royal Rumble. That was the worst Royal Rumble.
But this is the same thing. When they pop in the crowd, crap.
Yeah, but there's 50 people in it.
No one's going to Riyadh.
Though if the WWE want to send us out there, we will happily.
We'll go. We will go. Aye.
I mean, there's that.
If you're paying
for it. I hated Pat McAfee when he first came in. Turned him into a believer. I love him every week.
He was up there with The Rock for a long time.
He was, but unlike that bald fraud, I've actually bought in to Pat. I really like him. I thought his promo was excellent, and I would like to hope we would get to see more of Pat working in the ring, because that's initially how he started, was a couple of spot jobs in the ring. He also moved him into commentary because he's shit hot at it. I don't know. I don't know if you noticed Michael Cole during his promo.
Aye.
He looked very reserved and his head was down quite a lot. He did applaud at one point, but I don't know. It just didn't look like he was being overly supportive. I'm interested in that angle because Cole and Pat love each other on camera, at least anyway. So I'm interested. I'm not enamoured by Backlash, and we'll get to that in the Backlash preview. If you're booking your former world champion a couple of weeks ago and a feud with a commentator, it's not great.
Because even if Goldberg does appear, Gunther has to win that match. Even if he does appear, but
yes,
he has to appear after the bell.
It has to be a squash match where he then attacks him afterwards. It can't be. He can't eat a jackhammer or a spear and take the pin to Pat McAfee. Surely.
No. But he's that feud as well.
Gunther will get the first golden shovel as well. First PLE golden shovel.
Ross, any final thoughts on Raw?
I think overall, when you lay it out like this, it actually maybe was a slightly better episode than I gave it credit for when I was watching it earlier. I thought it was a little ropey when I was watching it. It felt like it was very much a, here's a good bit, right, here's a bad bit, right, here's a good bit. There was no I'm I'm quite happy with the show being like a sort of 6.5 out of 10, and it be kind of fairly on the level all the way through it. But
only one
yeah,
wrestling match in it though, I think, is the issue. There
I
was only
think that's
one proper wrestling match in
fair.
it.
SmackDown killed it. SmackDown killed it in the ring. Raw's storytelling was arguably better in terms of I can see the picture.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good comment to make.
Less the tag division.
Yep.
But overall, I think
so
they're kind of working with a little bit of constraints with Backlash, and that's their own fault with putting Backlash so close. I think we'll probably see some improvements moving forward, I would hope.
Aye.
I would hope so.
It is that time of the week. Golden
Golden
Shovel
Shovel.
needs awarded. I'll make the decision this week. So obviously we hand that to yourself, Ross, last week. I'm not going to throw anything as a suggestion from this week. What I'll say is there's an opportunity if we as a team decide that we defend it as a WWE style title, that the fact that The Rock then went on a fuck ton of chat shows and just completely buried everybody after we recorded this last Tuesday and said that it's a work and it's this and it's that. We know it's a work, but you don't admit it's a work. That whole thing with him could still hold it for another week, but there are a couple of things definitely happened this week that could take the title. Obviously, the initial plan for this was that it would be every week we would pick a story that doesn't make sense to us, and then hopefully in a week or two say, right, fair enough, we were wrong, we see where it went. So, Ross, if you get anything you want to offer up for this week's Golden Shovel?
I would say that probably the thing that is the Golden Shovel for me probably is this whole Sami Zayn story. I think if I'm looking out stuff, it's this one. I don't really get it. As someone who obviously took a bit of a hiatus and watched it a few years ago to kind of see Sami, like, this is odd. I don't really see where they're going to go with it. What they've done to start makes no sense. If they pivot next week and he goes and takes it after some introspection, then I will hold my hands up on next week's episode and go, yeah, no, fair enough. That's maybe a little bit more human, think about it, make a mistake, fine. But right now, yeah, I think I'm going to get the spade out and start putting some dirt on that one. Don't get it.
It's a fair, and we spent a long time talking about it. It is a very valid and very fair point. Daz, you usually get 2 or 3 things, but you'll pick one out, I'm sure.
Yes, I could double down on Penta, to be honest. No in-ring for him this week, a backstage segment where he hits somebody.
He's got a match next week,
looks
right?
ever looming like they're going to book him out of singles into tags, so that's pretty much a burial. But I'm going to stick to my guns with what I said earlier. Chelsea Green, the Secret Service, and our US title run were totally buried by Zelina Vega. The booking, as much as she's a decent, she deserves it, didn't make sense. She's had no program with Zelina. There's other talent who could have took the title. Even if you wanted to put it on a heel, get to Naomi. Do you know what I mean? If you wanted some intermediary for her, it just didn't make sense. They were building a wee bit with Chelsea Green pre-WrestleMania. I don't know, something's happened behind the scenes that's caused it. But it doesn't just bury Chelsea Green, it buries Piper Niven in particular. Her character looked as if it was building towards a potential Tiffy and Nia Jax-esque story, where now I don't really see how you book Chelsea, never mind the other two. So Chelsea Green, the US title, and the Secret Service get the Golden Shovel for me.
It's actually a tough decision this week.
I agree.
I think enough time has passed that we can. I think we're all just agreeing we're ignoring whatever The Rock says now.
Yeah.
There's always that worry that he's going to just completely fuck up the booking at some point, but there's that worry there. I think the only thing we didn't mention was the Aleister Black with the Miz thing. It kind of overshadows Melo again. There's an option there, because if it's Black versus Miz, if it then leads to Melo, that's fine. I think the Sami Zayn's really interesting because Karrion Kross is just very over as well with the fans, but you get 10 seconds as an ring promo. That almost drags into that. But the Sami Zayn to me is one of the ones that, if we're still talking about it in a week or two, it takes it. I'm willing to give it one more week, just because the Logan Paul Jey Uso feud does intrigue me enough that I can say, right, okay, they probably did away, but there is a wee intrigue there.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to the title change on SmackDown, and the reason for that is Piper never played second fiddle to who was it before Chelsea Green? Oh, what's her face? Red hair.
She was tagged with.
Eva Marie, wasn't it? For a while.
Yeah.
And then she's played second fiddle with Chelsea Green, and she's been brilliant. She's done a good job. But you're right, there was a monster heel turn coming, and that's kind of disappeared now. The whole feud hasn't really, the whole title reign hasn't really worked. We said this last week that the two mid-card titles needed something. The IC title's getting that. Zelina deserved it. It does scream a little bit of your husband's coming back.
Here's the title. Yeah.
Here's the title. So for me, it buries Piper, it buried Chelsea Green. No, it buries Piper, keeping her off Mania and then having her immediately drop the title. Buries Chelsea. And I feel like it buries the US title. We're already talking about the IC title getting elevated by Becky, but also Lyra's response, because that's huge. My worry is now, what's the feud for Zelina? It needs to be somebody bigger, and I don't see it. So for me this week, Golden Shovel, the women's US title change on SmackDown, because it's just the whole thing for the last month has just been confusing. I don't get it.
I think that's fair.
There's no payoff from what's happened in the last 6 months with the title, and I don't see the payoff for the next 6 months.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, that brings us to the end of episode 2 of The Golden Shovel. This is our weekly podcast where we look back at the big stories, highlights, lowlights, everything that's happened to WWE over the last week, and we fantasy book and look ahead to the next few months. As we've mentioned all throughout the podcast, comments, questions, thoughts, feelings, anything, stick them in the comments on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, or Twitter. We will read them, we will respond, we'll shout you in the podcast. We'll do a Backlash preview next week. After we record this, and I think maybe in a week or two we could look at doing some sort of fantasy booking for SummerSlam, and then we can maybe look back on that in a few months' time, see how right or wrong we were.
That
so
could be entertaining.
Until next week, signing off, Daz.
Peace.
Ross.
Pleasure as always, folks.
Take it easy, lads, and we'll see you next week.